Here we come, blue and white, and we're looking good. You'll be in for a fight, and we fight pretty good. Getting goals is our job, and we get goals good. Looking good, we are Carlisle United.
Hello everyone, you're listening to the Brunton Bugle, the number one place to get your Carlisle United fix in the podcast world. I'm Lee Rooney.
And I'm Dan McLennan.
Nothing is certain in life except death, taxes and Carlisle United failing to beat Harrogate Town. We look back on the first round exit of the Carabao Cup before previewing this weekend's first league away fixture of the season at Oxford United. So, we're recording this on Wednesday morning. Wednesday afternoon, I should say. And some news broke this morning in the News and Star, on the News and Star website from John Coleman, about a potential investment or takeover in the club by an American businessman. It's some really interesting stuff there. It broke at the weekend. Tom Piatek, I'm presuming I pronounced that right. I do apologise if I haven't. He's based in Jacksonville, Florida. Seems like him and his son have been to a few Carlisle games in recent months. It's all gone under the radar. Now, we're not going to be discussing that in today's episode. There's a good reason for that. One, Dan is vice chair of Kiosk, so he has to recuse himself from this, which is totally understandable. So Sunday's episode, when we review the Oxford game and preview Wigan, myself and Mike will talk about then. So if you're wondering why we're going to record an episode now and not talk about that, that's the reason. Simple as that. And it is just speculation at the moment. That's the way it is. But understandably, with speculation like that, we have to be very careful what we say. So there you go. That's where we are. Right, let's get into it. Dan, no shock really, is there, about last night? Is there? Hello. There's no real shock about last night's result, is there?
No.
Almighty.
I mean, obviously, we both didn't go. I know Mike did.
Yeah, he sent us a review in.
It didn't sound the best, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
We made some changes, but it's just Harrogate, isn't it? I saw it summed up in a tweet. I can't remember who tweeted it. I'm just trying to find it. It basically said, our record against Harrogate Town, it might have been Lewis Ridley actually.
Yeah.
Play day, lost 6, drawn 2, plus 1 game abandoned after 10 minutes due to a frozen pitch, 1 postponed an hour before kick-off, power cut, and 1 postponed when Her Majesty died. Is it our most cursed fixture ever?
100%. And you should know that that one that was abandoned, we were losing 1-0 at that point as well already. So it's just balmy, isn't it, Dan? Just can't get over it. Anyway, we were talking about that in a sec. Let's get in. Oh, sorry, before we even start, I should obviously mention again, once again, for the third season in a row, we are being sponsored by the Carlisle United Sports Club London branch. The London branch obviously open to all Carlisle United fans, whether you're based in the southeast or London or anywhere, Berlin, Timbuktu, even in Harrogate. If you're based there, you can join. There's nothing stopping you. They do a lot of great stuff in terms of tickets for away games and sorting away travel and things like that, and a bit of fundraising for the club as well. I think there was something on the official website the other day about some gym equipment they bought. Dan, I seem to remember. I see a nice photo of Joe Garner looking very happy. Sat on
a leg press machine of some form.
Yep, so they do great stuff like that. So if you want to find out more about them, go to their website, carlisle.londonbranch.org, or just approach one of them at one of the away games. You'll probably see them selling a copy of Hit the Bar at those games, so just go and ask them about it then. Right, okay, let's get into the news then, Dan. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave a bit of negative news this week, aren't we? Following on for the ridiculous scenes we saw in the Fleetwood game where several objects were thrown onto the pitch in the second half that caused referee Peter Wright to have to stop the game twice to make PA announcements. The club has had to take strong action about this, haven't they, Dan? I think it's fair to say.
Yeah. In a week where we received a fine for chanting at the Bradford game at Christmas, we still have Bradford playoff stuff brewing, I think. It's just building up, and I saw 1 or 2 people saying, kids will be kids and all this, and I get that to an extent, but when a referee's stopping a game and it's the 3rd and 4th time it's happened in several months, the EFL are not messing about this season. No. They will be looking for somebody to make an example of. And the way it's going, that's going to be us, unfortunately.
I've seen a couple of other clubs have got very similar fine stories recently. I think Stevenage got one for that fan that invaded the pitch and tried to attack Andy Cook, I think, as well.
Yeah.
That was another one. So, this isn't a case of, it's something to brush under the carpet. It's deadly serious stuff, isn't it? And unfortunately, the first tough decision the club have taken is to stop sales for the Warwick Road End, for the Wigan and Exeter games. I mean, the Wigan game as well is the one you really didn't want that to happen in. We want a really good atmosphere for that because they're going to bring a decent following, aren't they? So, really frustrating that.
I do believe the club said they would give a further update today. Yeah. Obviously, you've said it's Wednesday afternoon and recording, so by the time you lot are listening to this, there could be compromises because seemingly the Cumbria Police Carlisle Twitter account has mentioned, I think it's 3 people now.
Yes, there was a third one announced after the game at Harrogate. So 3 juveniles have been identified and given interim bans by the club while investigations are ongoing. I think we all knew it was going to be kids doing it, but it's just frustrating, especially when there's some really good young kids in that Warwick Road and done some amazing stuff last season. So it's not fair on them that their reputation should
as always with something good, it's always a tiny minority who spoiled it. But
100%, yeah. There's a couple of
I would say the last thing we want to see is a closed Warwick Road End.
Because that is one of the options that they potentially would have to look at, isn't it?
That could happen if it continues,
I mean, they've already talked about some potential options, which are voluntary reduction of the capacity in the Warwick Road End, which shouldn't be a major issue unless it was a huge reduction, really. Increased searching, I mean, that's going to affect entry times and queue. And I know that Sunderland have banned away from some taking, like, charging blocks, coins and vapes in, haven't they? So, and we know vapes are one of the things that are thrown on the pitch. So
I'll tell you something, you must have plenty of money if you're prepared to throw your charging blocks, like.
I know, it's mad, isn't it?
But I'm going to say 10, 20 quid, those.
Hefty, them as well. But, that's a potential option they might look at. Implementing age restrictions for those over the age 18 will only be allowed into the area, which, I mean, that would kill off the Warwick Road. You don't want that. It's the worst possible thing. But that's the options they're looking at, or closing the central section near the goals. And these are all things that are going to be looked at. So all we say is, if you do know of anyone else who's potentially done this stuff, just tell the club. Let's just get it sorted and get back to the atmosphere.
If anyone does know anything, if you look out the details for the SLO, that's sort of the point of contact.
Exactly.
Like that's the role of an SLO between fans and the club and authorities. So
exactly. Yeah. A couple of little bits. Max Kilsby, he's returned on loan to Annan Athletic for half a season. Dan, it makes sense, this, doesn't it? Really, I think we all thought that a loan move was inevitable for him, and going back where he knows at a slightly higher level than last year's is not a bad move.
Yeah, we've got obviously Armour and Mellish are pretty ever present on the left. We've got Jack Robinson can slot in there now. Annan getting promoted, it's a slightly better level. So it's a year older for Max. Slightly tougher games. I know they had a tough game to start.
Falkirk, was it, I think?
Yeah, they got beat 3-0.
But I mean, Falkirk are going to be right up there, you'd think, in that division, wouldn't you?
They should be. Yeah,
in theory. So, I mean, he's likely to get a lot more tested than he was last season, I guess. Cause
I believe he played at left back at Falkirk.
Yes, he did, I think, possibly. So, good luck to Max for his half season there. We'll hopefully see how he gets on. We'll be doing updates on that, obviously, in terms of the loan watch throughout the season. And a final little bit, it's just a little bit that's, I can't remember if we covered this in particular detail in the last episode, or it had even been officially announced then, but obviously the announcement by the club that because obviously there was photos leaked all over social media, so it was pretty obvious it was coming, that the East Stand has been renamed the Andrew Jenkins Stand in honour of the Blues owner and chairman, who's now up to 64 years of service with the club. It's one of these things that's divided some fans, I think, but I don't think it's probably divided people as much as some would think. It's a handful griping on social media for me. I don't really see the point in getting so angsty about it, but people are entitled to their opinion, I guess. So, yeah. Not really much to add on that, really, but there you go. Right, let's get into the Harrogate Town review then, Dan. As we said, Harrogate Town 1, Carlisle United 0. Just frustrating, isn't it? I mean, it's going to be more frustrating because we're recording this before the draw for the next round's being done. I can't remember if the numbers are all sorted beforehand or not, or it's an alphabetical thing that's done once the teams are out. I feel like it's already sorted before. Usually it's it's done on tie number, isn't it, for this? And if it is, well, whoever Harrogate face is the team that we would face. And if they get Spurs away, there's going to be a collective groan around Cumbria, isn't there?
Yeah.
Just frustrating. Let's get straight to talking about it then. Obviously, we mentioned there were some changes to the team. 4 changes in total. Back, Moxon, Huntington and Guy, they dropped out of the start 11, replaced by Ellis, Charters, Barkley and McGeoch. Only Guy remained in the squad. He was on the bench. Also coming into the extended bench of 9 players. I didn't realise you could do that in the League Cup. Whelan, Robinson, Butterworth and Edmondson. Particularly Edmondson after a surprise absence at the weekend. It's a weird one, that subs thing, because I think the Championship now has 9 subs for games, doesn't it? But why not just extend it to the whole EFL if that's the case? It just seems a bit weird, doesn't it? What were your thoughts when you saw the... I mean, we expected changes, didn't we? Were they the changes you expected?
Some of them, yes. Some of them, no. I think a few people thought maybe Edmondson might start. I think resting the likes of Back in Huntington, I completely get that.
Yeah, but Back was a specific request, wasn't it, from Forrest? That Simmer said after the game that Forrest asked that he didn't play Saturday, Tuesday for the first month or two while he does his recovery, didn't they?
That's completely fair enough, because he's coming back from a second injury, and if it means he misses a couple of tin pot trophies, so be it.
Yeah. With Moxon, it was kind of, there's no point in taking a risk if he'd had a dead leg at the weekend and doing anything worse, is there really? So don't need to put him through that. Guy, maybe I would have expected maybe a couple more changes, possibly Robinson coming in for arm, and like you said, maybe a change up front. But other than that, he stuck with the same team, didn't he? And it just didn't quite work, did it? It sounded like they were just totally disjointed from the start. Well, maybe not from the start. Maybe there was a few little chances early on, but I was actually doing a bit of work in the garden, listening along to the game in the first half, and I got the impression it was okay. And then just as soon as that goal went in, you had this sinking feeling of like, we're not getting back into this, are we?
No. I had a mutual friend there, and he actually thought, like, he was independent of both teams, and he actually thought we weren't terrible. He said we weren't brilliant either.
If you look at the bare stats, we had more shots both on and off target than them. Possession-wise, slightly more. Pass success was up to 70%, which last season we would have killed for that in some games. Some games our pass success was like 50, 45 and things like that, wasn't it? It was quite low because the game we were playing. So we've kept the ball a bit better. The problem seems to be that final third at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah. It just looks disjointed, I wonder if playing both Gibson and McCalmont slightly blurs things.
Yeah. I do wonder that, because
I know both played Saturday, but
yeah, it kind of feels like you've got to play one or the other, don't you? I mean, you need maybe another actual forward in there, possibly. I don't know. Let's talk about the chances and the goals then. The goal. Obviously, early on, there was a couple of little chances for both teams, wasn't there? I think Charters had a shot from range that was pretty well held by the keeper, and Daly had a chance from a low ball in by Odo that was comfortably saved as well by Holy. Then came the goal. It's such a frustratingly sloppy goal to concede as well, isn't it? I think it's fair to say. So Mellish got caught in possession deep in the Harrogate half, which is going to happen, because he's the kind of player brings the ball forward. But if you watch it, he's just desperately looking for someone to pass to, and I just don't think the opportunity was there, which again comes to the problems with the final third. He loses the ball, and Harrogate, to be fair to them, they attack pretty quickly, get the ball to Follerin, and actually think Lavelle does quite well, doesn't he? He just holds him off and just, puts him in a position where you think, right, you're not going to be a danger here. But actually what Follerin does really well is he uses Lavelle as a shield almost, doesn't he? So Holy isn't particularly well sighted for the goal, because Holy's actually come a little bit out of his goal. He's just outside the 6-yard box. and he takes the shot nice and early and curls it in the bottom corner beyond him. I've seen a few people say maybe Holy could do better. I just think it's a really good finish from the player. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it was a decent finish. If you get some people, like you say, will say Hawley could have done more. Is he maybe slightly unsighted a little bit, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting. A mate of mine went to the game and he did say that Hawley pretty much kept us in it, to be fair, in the first half, especially with some of the saves he made. He said there were still a few nervous moments with him, which, you're going to get. That's just the way he is. But he generally kept us in it. I mean, the fact that you look at the chances that were on the YouTube highlights and he almost got a second following not long after that where Holy made a really good save to palm it away from danger. And then there was another one where Thompson took a free kick from the left and found Burrell unmarked at the far post, and his header was well held by Holy. So yeah, there was always the risk that they were going to get a second. But then Mellish almost made up for it, didn't he, with a nice break. By this point, he was in midfield, it should be said. Breaking from the halfway line. And actually does quite well on his right foot, doesn't he? He gets himself into a good position. And he doesn't power the ball, does he? He's trying to place it into the bottom corner past the keeper who's dived past him. The keeper just gets a touch on it. It loops up, hits the bar and comes down. And I mean, the last person you want going for that header is probably Jordan Gibson, isn't it, really? In that situation. And the defender beats him to it and puts it behind for the corner. And yeah, beyond that, there was a few chances second half, but nothing that major. And then the penalty. What are we going to say about this one, Don?
Oh, Ryan lad.
I mean, it's just a perfect chance to,
He puts the keeper the wrong way. He just puts it the wrong side
this
of the ball.
This is the frustrating thing. So basically, the penalty comes about by a lovely little free ball by Sean Maguire to Charters. Obviously fell by the keeper. There's no arguments from the keeper or defence about the penalty. Edmondson steps up and he does exactly what he did in the playoff final. He waits for the keeper to move. The keeper moves very early, actually. So early that basically, if you listen to the commentary with Lummy and James Phillips, they're basically saying, the keeper's gone, he's put it in. And then, they realise, he's put it wide. That's how early the keeper died.
Yeah.
If you're going to do that, where you're going to sit the keeper down and wait for him to move, don't put it right in the corner. Don't take the risk. Don't put any more risk of it going wrong. You can afford to put it 2 or 3 yards within the post, can't you?
Yeah.
It's just, he's taken 2 penalties in normal time of a game now for us, and he's missed both of them. So I think it's fair to say he should be off penalties now. Do you?
Yeah, Taylor Charters should have took it. The boy doesn't miss penalties.
Yeah. Charters or Gibson to take them for me, because Gibson took them a while back for us, didn't he? I don't think he missed a single one either.
Yeah, fair point.
So one of those two, basically. Charters is the obvious one because he's just got a nice left foot on him and he can stroll it in. And yeah, it just kind of felt after that just everyone's heads just dropped and thought, wow, this isn't happening for us, is it? It's just, really, really, I was going to be brutally honest, I'm just sick of Harrogate Town. Absolutely pig sick of them. And do you reckon we could come to an agreement with the EFL, Dan, where every single time we play Harrogate Town, we just say, look, can we just forfeit this game? Don't want the risk of any injuries. Saves our fans paying for travel and stuff. All sorted, great stuff. And just let them have the 3 points or the bye to the next round. It's just no, eight games now. 2 draws and 6 defeats. Oh, it's just infuriating, isn't it? Absolutely infuriating. The thing is, it's not even like in those draws we've played well either. There was a 0-0 draw that was absolutely garbage. And then there was the 3-3 with last season where we scraped a point with the last kick of the game, pretty much. It's just, that's the thing that drives me mad about it. It's just, I don't know. It's just a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just a weird one.
Has man been to the moon?
Yes.
Have Carlisle won at Harrogate?
Neither. I'm not saying that. I'm not conspiracy theorist.
No.
It wasn't wholesale change, was it? So you can't really blame that on the performance either, can you?
No.
I just...
I wonder if we're actually at the point where we see it's Harrogate and everybody involved just thinks, oh dear.
I don't. Simo's always very keen to say he doesn't believe in that kind of stuff, isn't he? And I get that, but I wonder if the players, it's getting to their head a little bit, and they're thinking,
possibly.
Oh God, here we go. We're playing Harrogate now. And I know there's a lot of new players in there, isn't there? But it's just, Just the way it is. Simmer, mate. In fact, no, tell you what, should we do one of our 6-second reviews? And we'll come on to more because they might cover some of the talking points there. And we'll start with Mike's first, obviously. So Mike can't be with us today because he's been away in Yorkshire. And he treated his missus to a lovely trip to Harrogate for the day, including a trip to Weatherby Road. I hope he took her to Betty's at the very least. And for that. Yeah, you'd think. But there you go. Right, here's Mike's 6-second review.
60-second review. Plange just has one speed, and it's a jog. There's a few times when the ball was played in behind, and he could have maybe caused a few problems, but he just doesn't sprint onto it. And yeah, the amount of times we've been to Harrogate, we know it's a tight pitch there. It's hard for sort of midfielders to get the ball down and play it and have a few touches. So why try that? Charters was one in particular who struggled, I think, with that. But in the second half, he played probably the best pass of the game. I can't remember who it was to, but it tore through Harrogate like a knife through cheese. And around the time of the penalty, we were really starting to turn the screw and causing problems. I think if we'd scored the penalty, we could have probably gone on to win the game. Sadly, we didn't. Yeah, just an all-round poor performance. Man of the match for me, though, has to be the bloke who shouted at the ball boy, "You're 19 years old and you're a ball boy. You need to sort your life out." That was a fantastic shout. Yeah, just rubbish once again. I'm fed up of going to Harrogate.
I heard the story about that ball boy and someone giving him jip. So it sounds like he was being a prat, so fair play to whatever. He's touched on Luke Plange, let's touch on it again. Just not working at the moment, is it really? 2 games in, and does he look a goal threat? Not particularly, does he?
Got to give him a couple more games to really judge, in fairness. But I don't think he suits being the only out-and-out striker.
No, 100%, especially when the player alongside him is Gibson, who, will just about, and he's got that bit of quality about him, Gibson. But if you're going to do that, I think you need someone like Edmo up with him, really. The ball's going to stick a bit more. Even at Garner. I just... Look, with Simo's done incredible things at this club, of course he has, but I've got a slight question of judgment on this one, because I just don't see it with Plange at the moment. Like I said, we maybe got to give him a couple more games, but Oxford away at the weekend's going to be tough. Wigan at home is going to be another really tough one.
Well, it depends how we line up, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. I can't... If we carry on the way we are and the way we've been... The formations we've got with him up there, I don't see how he's going to be a threat, personally. What do you reckon?
I'd like to see him beside either Edmondson or Maguire, to be fair. But then you have a question of who drops out. And you're probably looking at McCollum or Gibson, aren't you?
Which is fine. I don't mind that. But I just think we need something a bit more up there. I'd like to see him with Garner, to be honest. Get Garner to start the game. Garner can do all the physical work. And let Plange run around him then. I just, at the moment,
a lesson in shithousery.
Yeah, exactly. Because the problem with the moment is he's constantly trying to roll his man, and he's not strong enough to do that. Because he's just so used to under-21 football, and you start to see some of the things that, we're only 2 games in, that the Lincoln fans said about him. And I don't want to see that, because I still think there's still a little bit of quality you see there, but at the moment, if you get 2 or 3 more games in playing this way with him there and he hasn't scored, big questions start to be asked, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, look, we all want him to come good. We're all hoping he will, but the situation we are this season, there's only so long we can wait with a young player to develop, isn't there? So
yeah,
let's wait and see what happens over the next couple of weeks anyway. Right, should we do another one? Who do you want first? Do you want Chris Martin or do you want young Craig Robson?
Do Chris.
Let's do Chris first. Save the best till last, eh? Right. That's no offence, Chris, by the way, I should say. Just we always know young Craig's the star of the show, isn't he? Right, here's Chris's 6-second review.
Harrogate, will we ever beat them? On tonight's showing, I think absolutely not. Jack Ellis got pushed off the ball early on, and from there had a pretty good game for the rest of it. He was right in front of the away fans and right in front of Simpson, and for the rest of the game he had an okay game. Taylor Charters did okay, I felt, in Moxon's position, potentially a good season for him if Moxon goes. Plange was useless from start to finish. Edmondson wasn't much better after half-time. Holy's distribution, I'm picking at straws here, but it was better than last season. I did like the fact that we were able to link loads of different formations together, but really overall just not good enough at all. Their number 12 and their number 9 were extremely good. I was really pleased to see them both come off, and I thought we'd do well once they came off, but we didn't. The penalty summed up our night, to be quite honest. And I really wish that the shorts this season match the pattern on the shirts, but they don't. Oh well, on to Oxford.
Some interesting points there, I think. I mean, Plange sent, highlighted again as the weak link, which is... I don't want it to become a pattern, but it probably will do if it carries on like this. But anyway, let's not talk about it anymore. Let's talk about a couple of things. One, we 100% agree on the shorts, Chris. We're on board with you there. It's just frustrating that they aren't the same. In fact, it's frustrating that they're not white. Just make them white.
They should be white for me.
I'm going to keep saying this. Just make them bloody white, for God's sakes. Why have we just switched to blue shorts in recent years? I don't get that. We've always wore white shorts. It's ridiculous. But anyway, that's another gripe altogether. Well, let's talk about Edmondson. He mentioned there the fact that he probably wasn't much better after coming on. The penalty was obviously disappointing, but Simo was quite vocal on the official website interview, wasn't he, in terms of Edmo's performance?
Yeah, I saw a couple of folks say he got thrown under the bus. I don't think it was that bad, but maybe just a slight... Excuse me.
That's getting left in.
Yeah. Maybe just a slight G up, try and get a reaction for him for Saturday.
That's exactly what I was thinking. So basically what Simo said, for those who haven't seen it, is that he's incredibly frustrated with Edmondson because he was drifting out wide so much. And he's saying, like, look, I want him to be a central striker. We want him to be a central striker. We've been trying to drum this into him pre-season. Gavin Skelton said it a couple of times in post-interviews that he said, we want him down the middle. That's where he's going to cause problems. And yet he's still constantly drifting out wide. And I think that's why Simo's so annoyed. I don't think that's the reason why he was dropped at the weekend. I think we all know that there's possibly something happening in terms of missing a team meeting or something like that. That seems to be the story, isn't it? It's not going to Wrexham. That's pretty clear anyway. But yeah, it just seems like he's frustrated with him because he's like, I know you can be a better player. I know you can be a good striker. But you've got to stop this drifting out wide. If we want you to play there, we'll play you there at the end of the day. What we want is you to be down the middle. And that's... I think, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Simo did start him at the weekend and just said, right, I'm going to start you, but you're going to play down the bloody middle. And you're going to stay there, essentially. You're not going to drift out wide. Let Jordan Gibson do that, or someone else, basically. Interesting to see what happens. But, yeah, Simo did sound quite exasperated, didn't he?
Yeah, I think part of it was obviously disappointed with the performance overall, etc. So, yeah, we're out the League Cup, draw a line under it, move on, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, let's do young Craig's 6-second review as well.
It was a horrible game of football. The energy wasn't there in the first half, leading to them to be fair, a fairly nicely finished goal. Harrogate were by far the better side for most of our game. Our attack just looked really unfit and like they'd never played together before. Luke Plange didn't have a great game either. He just seemed to let every header go and he didn't like to challenge for the ball very much. I thought Jan Mullis had an okay game after he recovered after the mistake that led to their goal. I thought Callum Guy was the best player there and he only came on at half-time. And speaking of subs, I thought Dan Butterworth came on and looked very lively and he made a positive impact on the game. And now I have to talk about the penalty. I'm just glad he missed it here and not at Wembley. I think we all knew who would take the penalty when we got it, but I didn't expect him to send the keeper the wrong way, but still put it wide. Listening to Simo's interview, he's not a happy person, and I can really see why. I just hope we do better on Saturday. Up the Blues.
Oh, that's a good thorough review there from Craig. He kept that within the 60 seconds, you see. Now, Craig, I was only joking when I criticised you for going over the 60. So if you want to go over the 60, you do. As long as you don't go like 5 minutes or so, it's fine. You go over the 60 all you want. Pretty fair assessment again. It's all the same points other people have picked out, haven't they, really? So interestingly mentioning I think Callum Guy's a huge player for us. I think sometimes it goes a little bit under the radar how important he is in the way we play, doesn't he?
Yeah, just going back a second, a very common theme amongst all three reviews, same names at certain times. But yeah, Callum Guy, chance to really show what he's about in this division. I know it was obviously a cup game last night, but
yeah, I think he's going to make a big impact this season, especially if we're going to be playing more as a counter-attacking side. Him winning the ball back's a huge part of that, isn't it? And obviously, it's maybe a little insight into what life would be like without Moxon, so maybe it shows how important it is to keep hold of him this season at the very least, doesn't it, really? Seeing the way things went last night, but there you go. Yeah, just summing it up, really. I mean, Simmer making the 4 subs at half-time summed up he wasn't happy, wasn't he? And he made that clear after the game in the post-match interviews he's done. In fact, we won't talk about the tax thing because we'll talk about that in the preview section for the Oxford game. But just summing it up, Dan, it's just disappointing. Isn't it? That's what is it? 4 seasons in a row now we've gone out in the first round of the League Cup.
Yeah. We're due a good cup run.
It's frustrating because we used to be very good. I mean, I know you weren't Big Keefe's biggest fan, but we generally did very well in the League Cup under him, didn't we? In fact, with Greg as well, to be fair. So. Yeah, to go from a decade of doing very well in it to 4 years of struggle. Frustrating, I think it's fair to say. But put that one behind us and we move on to previewing the Oxford game after this break.
Hi, I'm Thomas Holy and you are listening to Brunton Bugle.
Big Thomas there taking us into the second half of the show where we look ahead to the Oxford United away game. Behind enemy lines, I haven't got one for this one. Bizarrely, there just doesn't seem to be anyone from Oxford who wants to talk about their club. Strangely, I think I've said this before. I'm in a League One WhatsApp chat now with a load of different bloggers and vloggers and people like that. Hence how we managed to get Ben from the excellent Cods vlogs to come on and talk about them for the game of the weekend. Bizarre, no Oxford fan wants to join the chat, and the one pod I could find, I've messaged them and not had anything back. So at the moment, there's no 6-second review. I might go and tweet this afterwards if he finally comes back and said, yeah, I'll do it, and I'll have to add it in before it goes in on Friday. But as you're listening right now, if you're hearing this, they never came back. So no 6-second review, no behind them lines, unfortunately, this one. So let's get right into it, Dan. Oxford United away. First away game back in League One. Not quite a longish trip, isn't it? Nice-ish stadium to go to. Tough start, though, is it fair to say, in terms of on the road this season?
Yeah, this will be a good test for us.
Yeah.
Like I said in our season preview, I think Oxford will do quite well this season. They've got some decent players, they're well established at this level. And it'll be a good test for us. Yeah,
they didn't start the season particularly well at the weekend, did they? They were in the is it the varsity derby they call it, and the university derby against Cambridge United. And Cambridge are a team that pretty much everyone is expecting to struggle this season. We certainly had them down to struggle, and Cambridge ran out 2-0 winners, and it sounds like they pretty much deserved it. I mean, I watched the YouTube highlights, and it's a couple of sloppy goals that Oxford conceded. Actually, I mean, the first one is the sort of low shot comes in, and the keeper saves it, but he parries it straight back out into the area, and Lancaster, I think it is, for Cambridge. He's there to poke it in, and then the second one, Ahadme, yes it is, sorry. He heads in from across from the left way. He gets over the defender far too easily to head it in, and yeah, I suppose that'd be a slight concern. I mean, the concern for them is they've brought in the manager Liam Manning, haven't they? So he's someone who's very well thought of in terms of coaching. He's meant to be very, very high thought of. He's no playing career of note, really. He did a pretty good job at MK Dons, is that fair to say? In terms of his win record there is nearly 50%, I think, but it went badly wrong at the end. And so far, he's not really been able to find his feet, Oxford, has he?
No. I think this is quite a big season for Oxford because they've been in this league for a little while now. And I think they should be higher up where they are. I know they've had a bit of background fuss about the ground, haven't they?
Yeah, so
they might be having to move in a couple of years or something.
So I think the lease is up on the Kassam Stadium fairly soon. Now that's owned by their former owner. I can't remember what his first name is, but Kassam basically. He built it and he owns it. There's only obviously 3 sides to it, so there's no side behind one of the goals. And I think there's issues in terms of how the rent that they'd want going forward would be exorbitant, extortionate, and it's miles away from the centre of the town. There's not really anything nearby. Anyone going this weekend should know that basically that there's not really anywhere to drink near the ground. Essentially, you've got Hollywood Bowl. We're seriously considering getting a couple of lanes booked and going bowling before the game, because that's literally all there is in terms of that. I'm just double checking it because I think Simon, the SLO, on behalf of the London Bad, sent us details of a pub that fans can go to, and I'm trying to find the message he sent so I can tell you where it is. But yeah, basically, sorry, the ground, essentially, it's just not. I don't think they've ever taken to it as a home, have they?
No, it's neat and tidy, but it's got a side missing.
Yeah,
and then missing,
Yeah, so basically, I think that they're looking at it and thinking they want somewhere that feels like home to them, because they used to. Did you ever go to the Manor Ground, the old ground?
I did.
I did. That was basic to say the least, wasn't it? I think I never went.
It was a mishmash of mini stands and terraces.
Yeah, lovely stuff, isn't it? But not really
I think
suited.
We got beat 4-0 that day.
Yeah, that one wouldn't surprise me, really, all things considered, back then. Yeah, so they're looking to move, and I think the one they're looking to move at is sort of north of the city. So I think the Kassam Stadium's south of the city, isn't it? If I remember rightly. I'm going to have to load up Google Maps while we're talking here, just to double check what I'm saying is right here. So the Kassam Stadium, I'm fairly sure, is south of the city. Brilliant listening, this, isn't it, for everyone at home? So Kassam Stadium, yes, it's south. Yeah, very much south of the Ring Road, the eastern bypass of Oxford. So it's practically a village outside the city. Whereas the new ground, if that was to get built, would very much be. Let me find it. It's by a station. It's not Oxford Station. It's Oxford Parkway, I think it is. It's not loading. So I mean, it's the exact opposite. It's basically north of the city is where it would be, but near Oxford Parkway Station, near Kidlington, which is a town just outside Oxford. But crucially, it is right by a train station, and it will be their own ground, and it will be built as they want it. So that's, I think, what they're looking to do. This is where getting an Oxford fan on to talk about it would be much better than us rambling on, wouldn't it? But
yeah.
But yeah, so essentially they've got that bubble in the background, but they had a takeover in fairly recent seasons, I think. They've put a bit of money into the club, and they're looking to invest in a new striker, aren't they? There's a player who played against us at the weekend that they're keen on, isn't it?
Yeah, well, there's a few people linked, isn't there?
Oh. Jack Marriott's the obvious one. So Jack Marriott, apparently they've had a 400 grand bid knocked back from Fleetwood for him. So you'd imagine later in the window they're probably going to go back with a slightly improved offer on that. You'd expect, maybe test Fleetwood's patience a little bit to see whether they're keen to sell. But yeah, so they clearly want to still improve their ranks further. Looking at the summer transfer activity they've done, Dan, quite a lot of people are impressed with this, aren't they?
Yeah, I was. There was a couple who came in, and I'm just bringing it up. Where is it?
Rodriguez from Notts County stands out.
Yes, Rodriguez was the one that stood out for me. Josh McEachran, if he can get going, we've got a good player there.
Someone that Manning will know as well, because he was at NK Dons with him, wasn't he? So
yes, good shout.
Yeah, and I think there's a few loan players coming. I think Finn Stevens at Brentford's meant to be quite
Stevens,
well
yeah. And they've got the keeper from Brighton as well,
James
haven't
Beadle,
they?
yeah, James Beadle.
Brighton seem to produce a new young player every 3 months at the moment, don't they?
Yeah, and they've brought Stanley Mills from Everton. Stanley Mills sounds like a footballer from the 1920s, doesn't he? Yeah. He does not sound like a modern...
Played alongside Dixie Dean.
Yeah, exactly, with like massive shorts and, wears a flat cap, smokes woodbines and stuff like that. That's what he sounds like, Stanley Mills. But he's not. He's a youngster on loan from Everton right now, and Everton obviously got a very good reputation for young players as well. And in fact, since we recorded the preview, they've signed another player from Liverpool, from Merseyside. This one from Liverpool, Max Waltman, has come from Liverpool for an undisclosed fee. So I think he's another one that's quite well thought of. So decent signing from there. In terms of the players out in the summer, they've not really lost that many big players. I mean, Jody Jones made a permanent move to Notts County, didn't he? Which was
almost like a swap with Rodriguez.
Effectively. Matty Taylor's quite a legend there, isn't he? I think in terms of what he did there as a player. So I think he's gone to Forest Green. But yeah, beyond that, not really much else to report. Ben Davis moved to Chonburi in I think that's in Thailand. He is half Thai though, so that probably explains why he's gone there. To be fair, so that's a very, you don't see that transfer like that very often, do you? For League One clubs. But
no, not at all.
No. Yeah, so I mean, looking at the squad overall, the ones they already had there.
I can remember when Carlton Fairweather ended up in Hong Kong after being at us.
Yes, Happy Valley was it? I think the name of the club there.
I think it was. Yeah, something
is that
like
that.
Golden
the club
Valley.
Wasn't that the club that David Wilkes played for as well for a little bit? I think.
Possibly, they obviously had someone out there who knew a few folk.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at the squad overall, then Dan, the ones they've already got in and stuff. There's a bit of quality in there, though, isn't there? To be fair, and problem is we said this on the preview. We don't know a lot of League One players as much as we knew League Two players, do we? But you can sort of get a general idea. I mean, in attack, they've got plenty of quality. I mean, Josh Murphy, Billy Bowden, Sam Baldock. They're all players who've done stuff in the past, haven't they?
Yeah. There's names that even though we're not as familiar with League One as we are too in recent seasons, some of those names do stand out. Baldock certainly did to me.
And in midfield, Cameron Brannigan is one that I think that quite a few clubs we've been watching. I think Blackpool tried to lowball Oxford, didn't they, for him last season a couple of times and got basically knocked back. Sounds familiar, that, doesn't it, really?
Yeah.
Getting knocked back for a midfielder. Yes, so that's Oxford's squad. In terms of referee for this one, Jeremy Simpson from Lancashire. It's his 12th season as an EFL referee. He's actually been a championship level referee since 2016. So he only occasionally referees at League 1 and League 2 levels. So hopefully, fingers crossed here, Dan, that means he'll be a half decent ref. I've put the mockers on that 100% now, haven't I, really? That's 100% guaranteed he won't be, will it? So there you go.
12 bookings and 30 minutes injury time incoming.
Well, it's funny you say that, though. Actually, last season, he handed out 121 yellows and 1 red card in 28 games. So just under 5 bookings a game, but only 1 red card. So he's not, hopefully not too card happy. I mean, you'd imagine he can be better than the ones we normally see. You'd hope, wouldn't you? So, but let's see how that goes. The last time he took charge of a United game was the 3-1 defeat to Exeter City in September 2019. 2 United players were booked that day, Dan. Mo Sagaf and Harry McCurdy.
Oh.
It's going back a while, isn't it? Blimey.
Yeah. Well, it isn't it?
Yeah, in that sense, yeah. In terms of the head-to-head record, one of the ones where we're on top. So 46 meeting of the two sides this will be, and United have won 17, 13 have been a draw, and the U's have won 15. Yeah, I'm not sure there's really much else to talk about in terms of the Oxford United squad. Do you want to do your played for both? The return of this season?
I'm gonna pick a player who's still playing. In fact, he's only 24 years old.
Oh, I know,
which is amazing, really. Yeah. Cannings Carroll. I don't think I will ever work out what this lad was.
He was a nutter. He got sent off in his debut, for God's sake.
Yeah.
How many players have done that?
He's an Oxford lad. Came through the youth set up at Oxford United. I think he was there from sort of 7-8 year old, and when he was about 19, he made a handful of appearances. He transferred to Brentford for an undisclosed fee, which Brentford still do at the time. They were buying up these sort of players for their sort of, I hate the word B team, but he had a loan at Swindon, which probably didn't go down too well given the Oxford-Swindon rivalry. And then he came to us, didn't he? He came to us on loan, and he got sent off on his debut.
No, so it wasn't his. I've just double checked there because I was thinking, was it his debut? He was actually his second appearance. It was his
second game.
Second game. So that'd be a good question for you, actually, Dan, for you to have a look up about. Has anyone been sent off on their debut for Carlisle United? There must be a couple of players.
Yeah, but is, and I can't remember who it was. I'm sure there is. Because someone's discussed this before. Anyways, yeah. But yeah, he left us and he didn't do much for us. He actually transferred to Stevenage until the end of the 1920 season. And obviously his contract expired COVID times. Then he rocked up Queen's Park. Yeah. It was a very random move. I mean, Queen's Park...
Bit of money behind them, haven't they?
I've got a bit of money in the last 2 or 3 years. But he actually made his debut against Rangers B in a Glasgow Cup game, apparently. And he made a few appearances there. And then his contract released. And he ended up back at Oxford. But not United, City.
Yeah.
Who are National League South, I think.
No, they're just National League now. They got promoted last season.
Yes, they've gone up. Yes, they did, didn't they?
Because this weekend, he will be playing in Oxford. Obviously not for United, as you say, but for City, because Rochdale are away at Oxford City this weekend when we're away at Oxford United.
I wonder how often that happens. Yeah.
I mean, often. I'm gonna look up where Oxford City's ground is now. Back on Google Maps again, but...
it's in Marston.
Well, that probably is. Oh, well, that's well away from where the Sam Stadium is. Yeah, that's more like northeast,
isn't it? Yeah.
So it's near the Oxford Brookes University, I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah, but and he's been at Oxford City for 2 or 3 years. He's popped up on the ex-Blues a couple of times and seems very happy back at home. And he's playing in the fifth league now, isn't he? So.
Yeah, it's right by the Northern Bypass is where Oxford City's ground is. I've just had a little look there. So, he's literally right the way around. Yeah, because I'm sure that actually Oxford United used to play fairly near to there because they were based in Headington, I think, is where their old ground was, the Manor Ground. So, yeah, so they would have been quite close to each other originally, but obviously now nowhere near. They were miles away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. Kenise Carroll, very interesting one. He came with that big reputation. We were quite thinking, okay, this is a lad who's gone for big money in the past, great. And he was just dross, wasn't he? And like that red card he got against his old club, Swindon, was just nuts. He just lunged in on a tackle for no reason, didn't he? He was just like, what are you actually doing here?
Reminded me of that Hayden White one at Portsmouth.
That was ridiculous. Just remember that one.
Yeah.
That was just idiotic, but there you go. Yeah. Oh, you go, Kenise Carroll. So we pick out a few more to talk. I'll just list them all. Maybe there's a couple you want to mention, Dan. Tim Carter, who was a goalkeeper on loan in the 80s, I think. That rings a bell. Derek Clark, I think Derek Clark was our first ever loan player. He only played 1 game, but he came on loan to us in the 70s. John Dernan. Now there's a name. I think he's
ever remembered for that duo of goals.
Like 2 of the best goals you'll ever see in your life for us. Like the chip, I love the chip more than the curled one, just because it's just a lovely little twinkle toe to get some space, and then just chips it over the keeper.
These goals are on YouTube for anyone listening.
They're on my YouTube channel. Actually, I don't want to upload them.
Yeah. They're just it was well worth the journey that night.
Incredible. Because you did that one, didn't you? It was a mad one for you, wasn't it? You went to that one. I think he's a bit more of a legend at Oxford than he is for us, though. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Who else we got? Craig Farrell, God rest his soul. Richie Foran, Jimmy Glass had a brief spell there. Anthony Griffith, their risen name and a half. Montserrat's finest. Lewis Guy, Simon Hackney was there. I never even realised this. When I saw that, I was like, really? Was he? That must have been when they were back in non-league days, I'm guessing, towards the end of his thing. Anyway. So Simon Hackney was there. Richard Knight. The forgotten keeper from the Jimmy Glass season, isn't he?
Yeah.
You forget the fact that he was on loan first. Lee Madison, Sean McGinty.
He was from Derby, wasn't he?
He was, yes, on loan from Derby for us. He went on loan to them after he'd been on loan to us, and then he signed for them permanently, I think, Derby after that.
Yeah.
Oxford after that. Lee Madison, Sean McGinty, David Morley, Adam Murray, Mike. I love Dave Morley. I think he was such a good footballer. Really good. Michael Rains, Holmes under the Hammers legendary Christian Ribeiro. Craig Russell, who I think is a driving instructor these days in the North East. I seem to remember seeing that somewhere recently. Who else? Where are we at? Craig Russell, Kevin Samwith.
Had a solid non-league career, Kev Samwith, didn't he?
Well, he nearly signed
National League.
Didn't he nearly sign for us when we signed Zigo Ronaldo? I think Simo tried to bring him back around about that time from Chester or something. That really rings a bell. It's a Kevin Samwith. Paul Simpson, of course, legendary player at Oxford, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely love him down there, don't I? He'll get a great reception.
Yeah. Mick Tate, Ray Train, George Waring, who also gets a good mention every now and then on the X-Blues, and will today, actually.
Maybe get one later today.
Yeah. And Harry Worley.
Oh.
I genuinely thought you were... I'm
going for a cold shower after we've recorded now.
I was sure you were going to pick Harry Worley when you did this. I was like, yeah, he's going to pick Harry Worley.
No,
but no, you didn't. No. Right, let's talk about United for this one then, Dan. Obviously, in terms of injuries, Kai Nugent's still a couple of weeks away from recovering from his ankle injury. Lone players, obviously Max Kilby's not there because he's out on loan at Annan. So what do you do with the formation for this one, Dan? Because if he's going to persist with Plange, surely you've got to get another striker alongside him instead of going for those two attacking midfielders, and obviously Gibson a little bit further forward than McCalman. But
I would, yes. I don't think you've put in your notes, do we go 3 up top? I don't think we do that away from home. It's risky. I think it's a proper 5-3-2.
Yeah.
If it's Plange, I would probably play Edmondson.
Yeah.
And then look at bringing Maguire on at some point.
Yeah.
If we are a midfield three, one name we haven't mentioned who could come in is Dylan McGook.
Mm-hmm. Make it a bit tighter in there. I kind of feel like you need someone who... I suppose if you do that, you can maybe allow Moxon to play a bit further forward. If you have
I thought in his little appearance on Saturday, McGook was quite tidy. He seemed to know what he was doing. I was impressed with him.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player. It sounds like he wasn't quite on the game last night, but then again, most of the team wasn't, so it's not really a surprise, I guess, in that sense. I put in either 3-4-3 or 4-3-3 just to throw it in there, but yeah, I feel like he'll go for 5-3-2, and I think he might make a tweak in terms of the attack. I can't see him persisting with Gibson, McCalman and Plange all in there. I feel like there will be someone coming in. I as much as he's criticised him, I do think it might be Edmondson, because I don't think Maguire's ready to start yet. I don't think he's quite sure on Garner starting games at the moment either, so I feel like he'll put Edmondson in, whether it's with Plange or whether it's maybe Gibson up there alongside him. Maybe that's what he'll do, like he did in pre-season. I don't know, but I feel like it needs to change. I feel like I said, the rest of the team pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? I think in midfield, like we said, I think there'll be maybe a slight tweak in there possibly, but yeah, I feel like there's plenty of options for him to look at in terms of that. Right, predictions time, Dan. What are you going for?
I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Okay. And who goals?
The goal scorer, Big Job.
Big John, okay. I'm going to go for a cheeky little 1-0 win. Smash and grab. And after missing his pen and all the fuss about him not being in the middle, Ryan Edmondson's going to score the goal. That's what I reckon. Right, Mike has sent us in his prediction, and here's what it is.
I'm going to go for a 2-1 win with goals from John Mellish, and it's hard to predict who's going to sort of be starting in attack-wise, but I'll go for Sean Maguire.
I was sure he was going to say Ryan Edmondson there. We were both going to curse him for that, but there you go. So, okay, he's gone for a 2-1 with. Right, very interesting indeed. Right, Dan, it's time to wrap things up for this episode, and that means the X-Blues, and it's a bit of a bumper one because we've got the weekend ones to cover as well, haven't we?
Yeah, Jerry Yates scored on his debut for Swansea, 1-1 home draw with Birmingham.
Yeah.
Liam Cooper scored for Leeds.
It's a rare one, isn't it?
Yeah, he pops up occasionally. They went 2-0 down to Cardiff, drew 2-2. I think he got the first.
Yeah.
Jack Iredale back fit again at Bolton. Good 3-0 win for them over Lincoln.
I just can't. I'm starting to think you're right, Dad, in terms of your prediction for them to finish top, because that was a statement win, really, wasn't it, for them?
Yeah, they followed up with a solid 1-0 over Barrow yesterday as well in the Cup, didn't they? Charlie White got a brace for Wigan in a great 2-1 win for them at Derby.
Really good win,
Good to see him fit and firing. Ryan Bowman scored the only goal for Shrewsbury as a 1-0 win over Cheltenham. Amari Patrick got some debut for Sutton.
Yeah.
Two goals in a 5-1 win over Notts County.
Yeah, and we should say about Wyke and Patrick, they made the teams of the week, didn't they?
Yeah, well, you just took.
I'm sorry, I jumped ahead there, but I thought because we mentioned them, I thought we might as well because they were quite close to each other.
Mark Ellis scored on his debut for Chorley in a 1-1 draw with Brackley. Sean Brisley scored for Alfreton Town in a 3-1 defeat at South
Did he move
Shields.
there? I was sure I thought he was at Buxton or somewhere like that, wasn't he? Or maybe I've mixed him up with someone else. But
He moves every 3 months now, I think.
I think so.
Gavin Riley scored twice. You put one from the spot. They were both from the spot.
Oh, were they both? Sorry, I misread the thing.
Yeah,
Apologies.
yeah. Queen of the South went down 4-3 in a humdinger against Alloa. League Cup goals.
Did you mention George Waring, though? Or I just imagined that. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
thought he'd moved. Yeah.
No. Oh no, sorry. I meant Brisley. I was talking about Brisley.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. I can't remember if I've now or not. George Waring scored for Curzon.
Yeah.
In a 3-1 win over Darlington.
Yeah.
Midweek League Cup. Joshua Coyote got the equaliser for Rotherham in the 1-1 with Morecambe. They won on penalties. Ashley Addison scored for Gillingham. They probably had the result of the night. Beating Southampton 3-1 at home.
Well, we said when this draw was done, we said that when we looked at the ties that could be shown on TV, I said straight away that looks a really good potential tie because they've done really well in Southampton.
No, we're going to show a draw between Wrexham and Wigan.
Yeah, a League One side against a League Two side. I know they've been in the Premier League not that long ago, but still.
Yeah.
I just thought it's such a boring choice, isn't it? But hey,
yeah. Like I say, we'll just show Wrexham instead. Paddy Madden scored for Stockport and drew 1-1 at Sheffield.
Right.
Conceded 97th minute and then losing on penalties. Right, are you ready?
Wednesday like that, right? Are we ready for the drum roll? We've got a drum roll here for the next one. Here we go. Long drum roll.
Warning, this is not a drill. Warning, this is not a drill. Tyrese Omatoy scored for Forest Green.
No.
They were beaten 3-1 at home by Portsmouth.
I'm not having it. That's fake news. Fake news. Not a chance.
Cows were spotted flying over the moon.
Oh, my word. Getting all kinds of conspiracy theories on today's episode, aren't we? We'll just rename it the Joe Rogan Show or something now. There you go.
As alluded to earlier, EFL teams of the weekend. Charlie White made League One and Amari Patrick League Two. Both of them also made the Football League paper team of the weekend. Great read as usual. Football League paper. Enjoyed reading it this week.
Heartily recommend it.
Yeah. A few transfers. Adam Campbell went to Crawley after leaving Gateshead for an undisclosed fee. This is a strange one.
Only on a 1-year deal. This is a bizarre. I mean, obviously it's going to be a nominal fee they've paid, and I'm guessing it's one of those ones where he's basically told if you can get a league club, and as long as they pay up a certain little amount,
$10 grand or something, won't it?
But it's just, I mean, fair play. He's been excellent for Gateshead in like last 3 or 4 years, hasn't he?
Yeah.
It's a weird move to go all the way to Crawley, isn't it? Fair play, lad.
Arthur Ganawa has joined Grimsby on a 1-year deal after he left Morecambe in the summer. And I can't believe he's still playing here. Simon Grand signed for Lancaster City after leaving Charnock Richard.
Wow. I was just checking how old Adam Campbell is, the one who we had on loan in 2013. How old do you reckon he is?
I'm going to say 29.
28?
Wow. He was young when he came to us.
I know. I thought he'd been in his 30s by now for some reason. Yeah. It just seems so long ago. Simon Grant, how old do you reckon he is?
37.
39.
Wow.
He's like a year older than me, pretty much. Astonishing, that, isn't it? I mean, someone's been having a little bit of fun, I think, with his with his Wikipedia thing, because he says here, Sharnak Richard, 38 games, 10 goals. I mean, I know he played as a striker occasion for us, but there's no way he's got 10 goals for Sharnak Richard, because we would have reported on it in our X-Plays, and we only did it a couple of times last season, so there you go. Good move from that Lancaster City. A little bit of a step up from Sharnak Richard, still going strong at 39. Fair play, Simon. Well, that's it then, Dan, isn't it? I think we've wrapped up this week's episode. Nice and tight, actually, isn't it? Not too long, this episode, just on an hour. Yeah. Presuming the having had... See, people are going to wonder what he's talking about if it's really longer, and I've managed to get the behind enemy lines section, but we made a joke about the fact we might not have it for this week, but it looks like it isn't in, but there you go. In terms of upcoming episodes, sorry, I should say, actually, I always forget to do this. Thank you once again to our sponsors, the London branch, for their support this season. Upcoming episodes, we're going to be doing a match review of the Oxford United game. That'll be coming out, I think, probably Sunday night. We'll try and get that one out. And we'll be doing a separate preview of the Wigan Athletic game, which will come out some point on Monday as well. We're going to record those back to back, so basically they'll be in the bag for them, won't they? So all good and sorted. Dan, thanks for your time as usual, and thanks everyone for listening. And up the Blues.
Up the Blues. Tyree Summertoy scoring. What the hell?
Miracles will never cease.